At the Forrester estate, a golden dusk poured through the arched windows, painting the ceremony in warm amber light. Guests whispered among themselves, admiring the grandeur of the evening. Floral arrangements lined the aisle. Champagne sparkled in fluted glasses. The air was thick with anticipation. This wasn't just another wedding in Los Angeles. It was a vow renewal, a public reaffirmation of a love that had weathered decades of betrayal, loss, and redemption. Rich Forrester and Dr. Taylor Hayes stood at the center of it all, radiant, hand in hand, surrounded by family, friends, and history. As Carter Walton took his place to officiate, the crowd settled. Rich's voice cracked with emotion as he turned to Taylor, vowing once again to stand by her, to honor the bond they'd rebuilt. Taylor's eyes shimmered. She had waited years for this. After everything with Brooke Logan, after being second choice for too long, this was finally her moment. Then came the silence. It was sudden, eerie. Someone had entered the room. All heads turned. At the top of the staircase stood a figure draped in black. A netted veil obscured her face, but the silhouette was unmistakable. Stephanie Forrester, the matriarch, the lioness. She descended the steps like a specter, each footfall a thread, each breath winding the crowd tighter. Stephanie had been presumed to be in Europe, recovering. Few had seen her in months. Whispers had floated treatments, complications, a relapse. But no one expected this. She removed the veil slowly. Her face was gaunt but sharp, her eyes colder than anyone remembered. In her hand, a manila folder marked with the insignia of a Swiss hospital. The crowd collectively inhaled. Stephanie didn't speak at first. She simply looked at Taylor, then at Ridge. Then the folder dropped to the floor with a flat thud. "This," she said, voice clear and cutting, "is the truth you've all been avoiding." Ridge stepped forward. "Mother, what is this?" "You're supposed to be in Zurich," Stephanie interrupted. "Yes, I was. After someone pushed me to the brink of death." The room froze. Carter's mouth fell open. Eric's hand went to his chest. Steffi instinctively stepped toward her mother, but Stephanie raised her hand. "Don't," she said. "Not yet." Eyes turned to Taylor. Her face was pale. Her lips trembled. She opened her mouth to speak, but no sound came. "I didn't fall," Stephanie continued. "I was pushed off that terrace. The night before I was flown to Zurich, comatose. Taylor was there." And she snapped. A ripple of disbelief spread like a wave. Then, from the back of the room, another voice broke through. "I took her to Zurich," Brooke said. She stepped forward, heels clicking against the marble, eyes locked on Ridge. "Stephanie would have died if I hadn't found her. I called in my private jet. I got her to the hospital. I kept it quiet because I didn't know what really happened. Until now," Steffi gasped. "Yohit." "Mom, that's not say something." Taylor shook her head slowly, voice barely above a whisper. It was an accident. I didn't mean," she confessed. Another voice cut in. All heads turned again. Thomas Forrester stepped out from the crowd, eyes shadowed with conflict. "A month ago, she had a nightmare. I heard her crying out. I didn't mean to push her over and over. I didn't know what to do. I thought it was trauma, guilt. But it's true, isn't it, Mom?" Steffi spun toward her brother, betrayed. "Thomas, you knew and didn't say anything." "I didn't know," Thomas fired back. "Not until now." Not until she couldn't deny it. Taylor's knees buckled. Rich caught her instinctively, but as he steadied her, he recoiled as if her skin burned him. He looked into her eyes. "You let us believe Brooke was the villain. You let me believe you were the safe choice. The honest one." "I am," Taylor choked. "Ridge, I was scared. I thought Stephanie was dead. I didn't know she'd survive. It was dark. I was emotional. She cornered me, said horrible things. I snapped. But I didn't mean to hurt her." Stephanie stepped forward, voice iron. "You meant to hurt me, Taylor. And then you left me there." "Enough," Reed shouted. The ring on his finger gleamed for a moment in the candlelight before he tore it off and dropped it onto the floor. This ceremony is over. Silence. The weight of years collapsed all at once. Taylor's mouth opened to plead, but no words came. Steffi lunged toward her mother, arms out, but Thomas held her back. Let her go, he said quietly. She has to face this. Then came the flashing bulbs. Paparazzi had been waiting outside the gates for hours, and now they surged forward as the doors swung open. Taylor blinked against the lights, stumbling backward. A wave of shouts hit her ears. Did you try to kill Stephanie Forrester? Are you going to be arrested? Do you deny it? She turned, heels scraping the marble, and ran. Past the shocked guests, past the broken ceremony, out into the night. Behind her, the unmistakable wail of sirens sliced through the hills of Beverly Hills. The police were coming. And Taylor Hayson's a celebrated psychiatrist. Once Ridge Forrester's eternal love was running out of time. The credits could have rolled right then. But this wasn't the end. Not in Los Angeles. Not in the bold and the beautiful. In the hours that followed, the Forrester mansion emptied slowly. Guests drifted out in stunned silence, champagne untouched, flower petals trampled. Inside, Eric sat alone, staring at the remnants of the ceremony. His hand trembled slightly as he reached for the ring Ridge had left behind. I never thought I'd see this family fall apart again, he said quietly. Stephanie, standing behind him, gave no reply. Her eyes were locked on the French doors through which Taylor had fled. Her breathing was steady, but her face was drawn. She hadn't come back to destroy Taylor. Not exactly. But the truth, when it finally burst out, was never clean. Across the city, Brooke sat in her dressing room at Logan Designs, the silence almost deafening. She poured herself a drink and didn't touch it. Her mind raced not with triumph, but exhaustion. This wasn't a win. It was devastation. For once, she hadn't orchestrated the collapse. She'd simply exposed it. And Ridge. Ridge wandered the cliffs above Malibu, waves crashing below. The wind pulled at his shirt. His phone buzzed, endless cycles from Steffi, from Eric, from Carter. He didn't answer. He kept seeing Taylor's face, kept hearing her voice. The night Stephanie almost died. The secrets buried. The choice he made to walk away from Brooke for what he thought was stability, sanity, truth. But love built on lies collapses quickly. Back at the mansion, Steffi paced in her mother's old room, staring at photographs. Her childhood. Aspen trips. Family portraits. She clutched a photo of the four of them, her, Thomas, Taylor, Ridge. All smiles. All fiction. She didn't know what to believe anymore. Meanwhile, the search for Taylor intensified. News outlets were ablaze. Dr. Taylor Hayes wanted for questioning in attempted murder investigation. Photos from the ceremony flooded social media. Hashtags trended. Memes appeared. But this wasn't a joke to those who lived it. Thomas stood alone on the Forrester rooftop that night, looking down at the city lights. He remembered that nightmare. The panic in her voice. The way she begged him not to tell. He had protected Harrigan. But for what? Loyalty had its limits. Downstairs, Stephanie dialed a number on a burner phone. She'd go to ground, she said. She's done it before. But not this time. We need to find her before she does something worse. Who is this? The voice asked. A mother cleaning up the mess my son was too blind to see. And somewhere possibly in Big Bear, possibly Aspen, or even Mexico, a woman was driving. Fast. No headlights. No GPS. Just a single destination. Away. Away from the betrayal, the shame, the headlines. Taylor Hayes wasn't ready to face justice. Not yet. But justice was coming. And in the City of Angels, the past never stays buried for long. In the dimly lit conference room at Forrester Creations, tension thickened with each passing second. Ridge Forrester stood at the head of the table, jaw tight, hands clenched, eyes darting between the key players gathered before him. What had begun as a slow unraveling of truths now accelerated into a storm that threatened to rip through not just his personal life, but the very foundation of the Forrester empire. At the center of the chaos was Brooke Logan. She stood tall, spine straight, holding a small silver object in the palm of her hand, a recording device. Old, nearly obsolete, dusty, but intact. This, she said, voice unwavering, was a gift from Stephanie. She gave it to me years ago during one of our rare moments of civility. Said I'd know when the time was right to use it. Rich stared at the device. What is it? Brooke pressed play. The audio crackled. At first, just static. Then voices. Faint. Tense. Stephanie, you think I don't know what you're capable of. Taylor, you don't know what it's like to live with the guilt. Stephanie, then stop living with it. End it, Taylor. Maybe I will. Maybe it's time to end this pain and for all. The recording cut off. Gasps echoed around the room. Carter raised an eyebrow. Zende looked away. Steffi clenched her fists in her lap. And Rich's world tilted just a little more. I found this 2 nights ago, Brooke continued. It was buried in a box of old things, tucked away in my closet. I didn't realize it had audio on it until I turned it on. That conversation Steffi and Taylor had happened in the hospital. After the fall. Before Zurich. Steffi stood abruptly. That doesn't mean anything. People say all kinds of things when they're emotional. That's not proof, but another voice, calm and clinical, joined the fray. Dr. John Finnegan. I ran a waveform analysis on the file, he said. It's authentic. No splices. No digital manipulation. The background noise matches what you'd expect from a hospital room, beeping monitors, HVAC hum, hallway activity. This isn't fake. The audio's real, and the timestamp, Rich asked. Lee Finnegan, standing beside her son, answered. That's where it gets complicated. I cross-referenced the timing of Stephanie's hospitalization and matched it with the medication schedule. At the time of the recording, she was being administered a sedative not usually prescribed unless a patient is experiencing severe agitation. That suggests the conversation escalated shortly after what we heard. The implications landed like hammers. Sedatives, emotional volatility, and Taylor's ominous words about ending pain. Eric Forrester, silent until now, stood slowly. Donna rested a hand gently on his arm, steadying him. He looked around the room company his family had built, now hanging on the edge of scandal. I've made a decision, he said. Effective immediately, I'm requesting that the board suspend all philanthropic initiatives that involve Taylor's counsel. Until we understand what really happened, I won't allow her name to compromise the Forrester Foundation. Steffi shot up. Granddad, you can't. She's my mother. She's dedicated years to this work. This is a witch hunt. Eric cut her off. This is business, Steffi, and it's family. If Taylor's being investigated, there's a possibility she did something that goes beyond poor judgment, then we have to protect the Forrester name. Period. The room emptied slowly after that, leaving only Rich and Brooke. She stood by the window, arms folded, watching the traffic on Rodeo Drive far below. Rich approached her cautiously. You were right, he admitted, voice low. There was more. There was always more. Brooke didn't gloat. She didn't even smile. I didn't want to be. I just want the truth out. All of it. Later that night, Rich arranged to meet Taylor privately. They met at her house in Beverly Hills. He didn't bring lawyers. He didn't bring accusations. Just questions. She greeted him with tired eyes, makeup smudged, hands shaking slightly. You've heard it all, haven't you? She said, more statement than question. He nodded. I want to hear it from you. Not a tape. Not a doctor. You, Taylor hesitated. I don't remember all of it clearly. That night, I was overwhelmed. Stephanie was provoking me, saying I had destroyed our family, that you only ever loved Brooke. She kept pushing, Ridge, and I snapped. But I never meant to hurt her. I swear to you. Then why run? Because I knew no one would believe me. Rich didn't reply. He stood there, trying to reconcile the woman before him with the words on that recording. Taylor Hayes, calm, composed psychiatrist now cornered by her own unraveling sanity. And then, just as he was about to leave, his phone buzzed. A message from Finn. Lab results confirmed. The voice is Taylor's, but the fingerprints on the sedative syringe belong to someone else. Not Taylor. Not Stephanie. A third party. Ridge looked up sharply. Does the name Sheila Carter mean anything to you? He asked. Taylor's face went pale. You think Sheila was in that hospital room? I think she may have been closer than any of us realized. The plot, already tangled, had just twisted again. Sheila Carter, master manipulator, a woman with a history of violence, deceit, and obsession. She had once nearly torn the Forrester family apart. Could she be back? Had she intervened, tampered with evidence, planted false trails? Was this entire narrative another one of her sick games? And if so, what was her endgame this time? The next morning, Finn received the full lab report. It confirmed everything. 3 clear sets of fingerprints were found on the syringe. Stephanie, Taylor, and 1 unidentified match from a sealed criminal record. When run through the system, the identity lit up the screen in bold letters. Sheila Carter. She had been there. In the hospital. Close enough to touch the syringe. Close enough to hear that conversation. Close enough to manipulate both women at their weakest moments. But how? That question hung in the air as Ridge, Brooke, Finn, and Eric gathered to piece together what had happened. Theories flew. Sheila may have disguised herself as hospital staff. She may have gained access through a forged ID. Maybe she had been watching, waiting for the right moment to strike. All they knew for certain, Taylor wasn't acting alone. And Stephanie hadn't just been the victim of a single outburst. She had been a pawn in a larger scheme. Meanwhile, back at her secluded hideaway, Sheila Carter watched the news on a cracked laptop. Reports were starting to circle. The recording. The fingerprints. The possibility of foul play. She grinned. Right on schedule, she whispered. She had always known how to pull strings. And now every puppet was dancing exactly the way she wanted.